They say no good deed goes unpunished, but I swear, no one ever warned me about what happens when you just try to live quietly and keep your damn lawn mowed. You want a hook? Here's one. When fake HOA cops busted through my front door at 2 a.m., they expected me to panic like a sitcom dad, maybe fumble for a phone, beg for mercy. What they got was a war-hardened father who'd face down worse than khaki bullies in the middle of the night. I never answer my door with my right hand. That's not superstition. It's 30 years of habit, burned into my bones by special operations work that people in this quiet town couldn't imagine. Brookage, North Carolina. On paper, just another safe little suburb. Folks see a widower with some gray creeping in, a loyal lab named Samson, and a yard so neat you could bounce a quarter off it. Nobody has any idea that I can assemble a rifle in the dark or that I once slipped through a Nicaraguan cartel compound and left with all my targets alive, and a diplomat no one even knew was missing. To my daughter Emma, 17, too stubborn for her own good. I'm just dad, the guy who won't let her have TikTok and lectures about seatbelts. She doesn't know about the nightmares or the way I always sit facing the exits at every restaurant. Lately, though, things have felt off. It started with a harmless-sounding letter from the HOA. Please remove your wind chimes. They're non-compliant. Problem is, we never had wind chimes. That's when the citations started rolling in. Unauthorized plants. Trash bins out of position. Little paper cuts, you know? Death by bureaucracy. I shrugged it off until Emma came home pale one night, her voice barely more than a whisper. Dad, I think I was followed. 2 guys in a golf cart. They said they were community enforcers. One of them just stared. I didn't blink, just watched her, caught the way her hands trembled. Did you see their car? No, just the golf cart. And walkie-talkies. That sent up red flags for me. Real ones. HOA doesn't use scrambled comms. Military-grade radios? Not standard issue for people who care about curb appeal. The next morning, I walked the perimeter. Old habits. Shrub patterns, fence lines, even the mail slot. I put 2 microcams under the gutter, not because I was scared, just wanted confirmation. They were watching us. But what do you do when your daughter's marked by ghosts in polo shirts? By week's end, a final notice, taped right to the door. Non-compliance will be enforced. HOA patrol. No signature, no number. HOA patrol isn't a thing, at least not in Brookage. That night, I didn't sleep. Not really. I sat in the living room with Samson at my feet, untouched chamomile in my hand. 2:03 a.m. You don't need a clock when your body spent years in zero-light combat zones. For sets of boots approached the porch, light treads, tactical saws. They didn't knock, they breached. Door flew open, flashlight swung too high, too fast. Not cops. Down. Face down now, one shouted. Deep East Coast accent, no hesitation. 3 in black tactical gear, patches reading HOA enforcement. The 4th slipped for the hallway. Emma screamed from upstairs. I didn't freeze. I moved, let them see just enough movement to bait a chase. One bit, lunged, and I swept his legs, slamming him into the bookshelf, a rib cracked. The next raised his weapon. I hurled the mug in my hand. It shattered against his face. He fired into the ceiling. I twisted his wrist until the tendons gave. Who sent you? You're in non-compliance, he spat. Wrong answer. Dropped him with an elbow, turned, too late. The last had Emma at arm's length, weapon drawn. Let her go, I said, hands up. You're surrounded. No, I said, stepping forward. You're down too. He blinked. That's when Samson lunged, 80 pounds of muscle on his arm. The gun fell, and I was on the guy in a flash. Who are you? I demanded. He just grinned, blood on his teeth. You're still active, he hissed, and passed out. I checked Emma, shook but unharmed. The patches were cheap fakes, glued, not stitched. But the movements, they weren't cosplay. Then I saw it, a patch tucked in a vest, black trident, red triangle. Not HOA, not police. I'd seen it once, halfway across the world, and it belonged to a military unit that didn't exist on paper. So what were they doing in my living room? Somewhere, someone watched and waited. The storm had passed, but the silence was worse. I tied up the intruders, zipped cuffs from my stash, checked their vitals, disarmed each one with muscle memory I couldn't forget. Emma, wrapped in a quilt on the stairs, whispered, "Dad, what's happening?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care, because I didn't know yet. They hadn't stolen anything, hadn't asked for money. hadn't even tried to run. That patch was all that mattered. I remembered the Baltic, missions that never made the news, teams funded off the books. Ghost unit stuff. No one should know where I am. But here they were, dressed as mall cops. One intruder groaned. I dragged him to a busted chair. "You're not HOA?" I said. He blinked. "You don't want to do this." "Already did." "Talk." "Retrieval mission," he finally said. "Of who?" He glanced at Emma. "That was enough." I hit him. "Say her name again." He grinned, teeth red. "They said you'd still have teeth." No one believed it. "Why Emma?" "Why now?" I opened a hidden panel behind the linen closet. Sat phone, encrypted, wrapped in foil. Called an old contact. Nothing. Dead. Tried again. Dead. Every number, burned. Either someone wiped the servers, or the man on the other end was gone. The next intruder rasped. "I know that move. Armbar. You train with Haddock?" My heart dropped. Haddock had trained me. "What team are you with?" "The one you were supposed to join," he said. "You broke into my home, grabbed my daughter. Last chance. We didn't want her. She just tripped the protocol." Facial match. Project Sentinel. Everything stopped. Project Sentinel, a failsafe that tracked families of high-risk operators. If one went rogue, they'd sweep up everyone connected. I'd never opted in, but maybe someone tagged Emma anyway. "We just follow the alert," the man said, almost sorry. I pulled Emma into the kitchen. "Stay here, don't move." In the attacker's bag, zip ties, sedatives, a tablet with live GPS, satellite uplink, Emma's face, genomic match, priority retrieval. Another team, 20 minutes out. "Emma, go bag, hiking boots, now." She didn't argue, just moved. The leader coughed. "Doesn't matter what you do, they'll come. Then I'll greet them." I secured the attackers, looped their cuffs through a ring bolted to the floor. Emma returned, ready. I opened a panel, pulled out my old rifle, sidearms, grenades. "Who are these people?" she asked. "The kind who kill what they don't understand." "Is this my fault?" she whispered. "No, it's mine for thinking I could bury the past." You ever wonder, would you tell your kid the truth or shield them when the world goes sideways? Comment below. I heard tires outside. Black SUV, no plates, red dot on the fender, a mark only insiders recognize. Not here to talk, here to erase. Back door. "Move," I told Emma. She went. I chambered around, walked to the middle of the living room, and waited. The yard was silent, too silent. I'd seen that pause in Kandahar, right before all hell broke loose. 2 men outside, military stances. No weapons drawn. Pros didn't need to telegraph violence. I checked windows, power, still on, but that wouldn't last. 5 minutes, maybe 10. In the kitchen, Emma hid under the sink, clutching her bag. "I'm scared," she whispered. "That's not weakness, it's survival," I said, forehead pressed to hers. "Cellar door. Take Samson. Follow the creek bed to the rusted fence." "You'll follow?" "Once I deal with the people who forgot whose house they broke into." I watched her go. Ticking clock. If they saw her, she was gone. Back in the living room, I pulled out the leader. "Tell me everything," I demanded. He just smiled. "You think we wouldn't track a Tier 1 operator's child? Especially after Istanbul." My blood froze. Istanbul was sealed. No one should know. Project Sentinel wasn't a failsafe. It was a breeding program. "You're version 5. She's version 6. Gene markers. Protocols. Cleanse the trail. Kill anyone in the way." I clicked off the safety. "You're in my house." I moved. Kitchen, hall, upstairs landing. Every window, a reflective blind. Confusion buys time. The power flickered. EMP hit, as expected. I switched on emergency lights, infrared only. The SUV doors opened. 3 men, heavier gear, walking with the calm of killers. I triggered the first trap, flashbang powder on the porch. Boom. 7 seconds of chaos. I burst out the garage, dropped one, tackled the second through rose bushes, the third fired, sniper, rear hedge. I ducked, grabbed a comm unit. Heard. Extraction in T-90. Backup inbound. Couldn't hold the house, not with Emma out there. Would you defend or run when your home becomes the battlefield? Drop your answer below. I tossed the bound leader onto the porch, fed the enemy false comms, faked movements, bought time. Pulled a hard drive from the safe, missions, names, files. Uploaded it to a drone. Insurance, for Emma, not for me. Then, Samson's bark, sharp, panicked. Emma, running the wrong way. A fourth man, woods behind the creek bed, tranquilizer gun. I grabbed my rifle, sprinted upstairs, aimed too late. A shadow dragged her into the trees. I ran. I stopped being a homeowner, became the hunter. Through the brush, tracking every sign. Samson barked, closer. Broken branches, a trail. She'd fought. Good girl. Drag marks, north by the creek. Cresting a slope, I saw it. A second black SUV behind the maintenance shack. Emma, unconscious in the back, 2 men outside. I had to outthink them. Old transformer in the grass. 3 minutes to set a charge. Bird call. Infrared man turned. Transformer blue, smoke and chaos. I reached the SUV, cut Emma loose, carried her out as the men doubled back. Spray painted on the transformer. You lost the only game that mattered. They'd know it was me. I wasn't running. I was baiting. We made it to a safe house by dawn. Old cabin, Appalachian ridgeline. Emma slept for hours. When she woke, I told her everything. Project Sentinel, what she meant to people who saw her as data. You were never supposed to be part of that world, I said. Why are they after me? She asked. Because someone wants the ghosts back. I showed her the drive, the one I hadn't sent yet. I send this, the operation burns. Real people go down. She looked at me, steady. Then send it. Would you light the fuse, knowing the fire will never stop? Or disappear? Keep your peace? Drop your move below. I launched the drone. The files went public. Project Sentinel's secrets burned bright. Media exploded. Hearings, resignations. The phrase genetic custody trended for days. But we disappeared, quiet, far away. No phones, no trails. Now tell me, was justice served, or did I just paint a bigger target on my daughter's back? You tell me.